All right. Okay. So the thing is that this dharma adhyasa is the false transference, and two mistakes are committed. The first mistake is that, like when a red flower is put next to a colorless crystal, the crystal appears red, we said, and we think that the red color belongs to the crystal when actually it belongs to the flower. This is the first mistake. And the second mistake is that we try to clean the crystal to remove the red color. So this is the all the problems caused by the false transference. And how is this to be corrected? Through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, because it's all due to Ajnanam, Avarana Shakti. This is what we had come up to. And we had said that the solution lies in Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, learning to abide in myself as consciousness itself, as the Atma itself, and learning to see everything as it is by remaining as Sakshi. Okay, so sort out this matter, we said, find out where the problem lies. You will find that the problem lies in you. And when you inquire into I, this I, it vanishes. So with that background, we'll come to today's verse, the 18th verse. So the confusion, as we said, is at two levels. There is an internal confusion and there is an external confusion. So the internal confusion requires a resolution at one level, and the external confusion requires a resolution at another level. So what is the first confusion? It is that I require support. The understanding that I require support. This is the first confusion, because you are confused about the I. The I who I really am, the Atman, Brahman, I do not require support. But not having understood this I, the confused I, requires support. And this can be resolved by Jnanam, Shravanam, and Mananam, basically. And of course, it requires Nididhyasanam. And at this, in this particular verses, the next few verses, the author does not discuss Nididhyasanam. He simply discusses Shravanam and Mananam, because Nididhyasanam is discussed, but at a later stage. And the author deals with it very extensively at that point of time. So here, he does not talk much about Nididhyasana. So the first confusion we said is internal, and the confusion is that I require support. And this can be sorted out by Jnanam, by figuring out who I am. And what is the second confusion? It's an external confusion, because there is Brahman and there is Jagat, and these are mixed together. It is difficult for us to remove these two, because Brahman is all pervading. And the Jagat itself is completely pervaded by Brahman. They are mixed together. It's actually a non-substantial mixed with the substance. Like we say, if you want to have example of this desk, then this desk is mixed with the wood. So the Nama Rupa is mixed with the Vastu. The name and form is mixed with the substance. And I think that this desk is a substance. And I talk about the weight of the desk, for example. But I forget that the weight belongs to the wood and not to the desk, because the desk is only a figurative thing. It is Nama Rupa only. It is a form and a name given only. And therefore, because of this external confusion, in not being able to segregate the form from the substance, the Nama Rupa, I am not able to segregate from the Vastu. And because of that, I rely upon this external world for my own security. And this is a dangerous game to play, because the prapancha, the external world, is in a constant change of flux. It always is constantly changing, and therefore cannot really give us any security. For security, we need something which is secure. And therefore the author says, Tatha Sargaha Brahmanaha cha Bhedam. So if you look at the word, Tatha Sarga Brahmanoscha Bhedam Avritya Tishtati. Tatha Sargaha Brahmanaha Bhedam. So Sarga is creation, Brahman is Brahman, and therefore the difference between Sarga, this Nama Rupa Mithya world, and Brahman, Bhedam. Bhedam is the difference. So Tatha Sarga Brahmanaha Bhedam. The difference between creation and Brahman, I do not know. This difference, Bhedam, I do not know. Why? Because Avritya Tishtati. Okay, so you look at those words, Tatha Sarga Brahmanahascha Bhedam, you have to supply mentally, is not known by me because Avritya Tishtati. The Avarna Shakti covers the difference, veils the difference. Because of Ajnanam, the Avarna Shakti, I am not able to make out this difference. And Ya Shakti, that covers this difference between Brahman and Jagat. And because of this confusion alone, Tad Vashat, because of its influence. Tad is what over here? Tad means Avarna Shakti. Vashad means because of influence. And Tad Vashad, because of the influence of the Avarna Shakti, Brahma Vikrattatvena Bhasate. Brahma Vikratatvena Bhasate. So, this Brahman appears as changing. Vikratatvena is changing, Bhasate appearing, and therefore Tadvashat, because of the influence of that Avarna Shakti, this Brahman, this non-changing, formless, all-pervading Brahman appears to me Vikratatvena, constantly changing. And this is because I have not understood the changeless nature of Brahman, and this changes in the Nama Rupa, in the Mithya Prapancha. What am I doing? I am perceiving all the changes that are occurring in Mithya Prapancha. In this world, in the Nama Rupa world, changes are constant. And these changes I am transferring to Brahman. So the substantiality of, there are two, if you can see, there are two-way transfers. The substance, the vastu, so substantiality of Brahman is being incorrectly transferred to Mithya, to the Mithya world. And therefore, I recognize this Mithya world as Satyam. The Mithya world is not Satyam, it is Mithya. It is a dependent reality. The Satyam, the independent reality is Brahman. But the independent reality of Brahman, I have transferred to this Mithya world. And therefore, instead of taking Brahman as permanent, as Satyam, I mistake the world as Satyam. And when I mistake the world as Satyam, what do? I begin to lean on that world. I begin to use the world for my security. And that is the beginning of all the problems, because the world is not secure at all. It's constantly changing. And therefore it is impermanent. And how can impermanent vastu ever give me permanent security? This I have not understood because of the mistake that I have made. So Brahma Vikratatvena Bhasate. This non-changing Brahman is taken as this changing world. What is the solution? I have to continue to see the world, but with the understanding that the world is not permanent and is non-substantial. Once I have that, then it will be easier for me to understand that what is Brahman, what is world, and where should I look for my security. So if you remember from 13th verse onwards, we are talking about the cause of the samsara and the remedy for the samsara also. And this topic will extend all the way to the next 2-3 verses. So Maya Shakti has given me what? Has given me this body-mind complex, which is Mayakam, but is useful to me. Because if this body-mind complex is not there, what am I? I am the Sakshi. I will remain as Sakshi. I will remain as original consciousness. But I need the reflecting medium, the RM, for me to interact with the world, because OC cannot interact with the world. So OC is avyavahariyam, beyond all transactions. OC has no capability of interacting with this world at all. Because why? OC is one level of reality. It is the Paramarthmika Satyam. And this world is Vyavaharika Satyam. You cannot have an interaction between two different levels of reality. So Paramarthika Satyam cannot interact with Vyavaharika Satyam. What can interact with Vyavaharika Satyam? Only another entity belonging to Vyavaharika Satyam can interact with Vyavaharika Satyam. Just like in your dream, the dreamer can withdraw money from the bank. But the waker, who belongs to a different level of reality, he has no access to the money in the bank which belongs to the dream. It's a different level of reality. Even though the waker has created the dream bank and the dream money and the dreamer, only the dreamer has access to the dream bank and the dream money. And therefore, from this example, we have to get the understanding that only entities belonging to Vyavaharika Satyam can interact in Vyavaharika Satyam. And therefore, OC cannot interact with Vyavaharika Satyam at all. You need an entity belonging to Vyavaharika Satyam, which we call the RC. The RC is the reflection of the OC in the RM. So all Tattvabodha language, I hope you are still following it about it. I hope it's clear to all of you all. So this RM is called the body and the mind. And the reflected consciousness in the body and the mind, the RC, is called the Jiva. Remember, you don't have to say RC plus RM. Right? RC means there is a OC reflecting of the RM. So RC is OC plus RM. And therefore, this RC is the Jiva. The Jiva belongs to which reality? Vyavaharika Satyam. So we call it Mayika Tattva. But due to this ignorance of the fact that this Jiva is a mythical entity, Mithya, I transfer this Jivatvam of the Jiva onto the Vastutvam of me, the Sakshi. So this is the Adhyasa. Transferring something which belongs to Jiva, which is actually of Vyavaharika Satyam, and can in no way influence me, who am Brahman, Paramarthik Satyam. But because I am transferring this characteristics of the Jiva onto me, the Sakshi, I become the Samsari. So I, the changeless Brahman, become the Samsari. So the isness, we said, the existence of anything is the Vastutvam, is the Brahman aspect. And the Nama Rupa is the Mithya aspect. And when I say that something is changing, I'm making the mistake of attributing that changing status to both the something and the existence. So existence we call is, right? We say existence is the isness. And the changing status belongs to the object. So when we say there is the object, or there, let us say I'm saying there is a telephone, right? So the object is the telephone. The existence is the isness. The existence belongs to Brahman. The Nama Rupa belongs to the telephone. But here, when I say something is changing, I am attributing the changing status not only of the object, but also of the isness, which means that I do not know that isness, the existence principle, is not subject to change. And all changes belong only to the sargaha, the world, the nama rupa only. The mistake lies in my transposing this change of the nama rupa world to the vastu, the Brahman. And because I take this characteristics belonging to the world and superimpose it upon Brahman, Brahman as if becomes changing. And this anatma, atma, avivekaha, the inability to distinguish between what is atma and what is anatma is a problem. And this problem finds its expression in a sense of insecurity. And this insecurity becomes my apurnatvam. And my apurnatvam, therefore, which is actually a mithya, right? Apurnatvam is false because I am actually purnaha. But I consider myself apurnaha. And because I consider myself apurnaha, I consider myself insecure. And therefore, I seek security from this changing world, which is quite a foolish thing to do because I am the very source of the security. I am Purnaha. But having considered myself as Apurnaha, I look for security from outside, from the changing world, not knowing that the changing world can never give me security at all. So that is this particular verse. I will leave it open if you have any questions.
So,
Yes,
when you
please.
said the world is non-substantial, it's a substance something.
Yeah.
What does it mean actually, like non-substance?
It's like saying that your bangle, is it substantial or not substantial? Your bangle is a substance or not?
It is.
Anybody wants to agree or disagree on the statement?
I think gold is a substance in the bangle.
Yeah.
And the bangle is only a name and form of the gold.
Exactly. Manmohan, did you get that? There is no substance called bangle.
Right.
The substance is gold only. So the bangle is non-substantial. There is only name and form. But if you have to talk about substance, you have to talk about gold. Similarly, when you talk about the world, there is no substance called the world. The substance is Brahman alone. The world is only name and form. This is the idea around which we have to get our heads, because we always think that the world is substantial. That is the main crux of all this Vedanta which you are doing, to be able to recognize that name and form are not substance. Name and form are adjectives, not the noun. Normally, when you say bangle, you take it as a noun, right?
Yeah.
But what Vedanta is telling you is that bangle is not the noun. Bangle is the adjective to the substance gold.
Okay.
So we have to get our heads around these things, and they are fairly complex ideas, and that's why long-term, study is required. We always study long-term. A few days of study of Vedanta doesn't do anything for us. We have to remain soaked in that for a very long time.
So while we are studying and the mind gets disturbed because of some outside things,
Okay.
then okay, I understand that it is not I am not the mind, I am Brahman, but the mind is disturbed. So
Yes.
how do I bring it back? If I'm trying to train the mind, but still it's not happening. I'm meditating every day, still it's not happening. So what is the way?
So you meditate more. There's no shortcut to this. You are learning something in your classes, but that learning, unless it is driven into your subconscious, it is not going to be of help to you. And that is what you meditate for. The Nididhyasanam is to tell yourself that you are not the bangle, you are the gold. It takes a long time. Why? Because you have been, all of us have been conditioned to believe that we are the body. This conditioning has taken place over not only this lifetime, but over several lifetimes. So the conditioning of that, the brainwashing of that, will not go by 1 hour class every week. That whatever you learn in that 1 hour class every week, it has to be implemented daily. So the Nididhyasanam is a part of your daily routine. Morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're free, it has to be done. It takes a very long time for it to work. That is because in transactions of this world, you are bound to identify with your body. And Nididhyasam tells you just the opposite. But every transaction that you undertake, starting from eating to talking to going to work, what are you doing? You are forced to identify with the body. And that's why they say that karma and jnanam are opposed to each other. Ideally, this sort of Nididhyasanam should take place in an atmosphere where there is no other demand on you. But that's not possible for all of us. So it's all that much the tougher.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? All right. So with this, we'll stop. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Have a good night, guys.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you so much.